Welcome back to the Crypto World channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Bitcoin is playing out a brand new fractal on the chart as we speak. This could potentially tell us Bitcoin's very next move. So in just a moment, I'll be covering that in this video and giving you guys my next Bitcoin price targets, my Bitcoin strategy, and more. So especially for you Bitcoin holders out there, make sure you're watching the video all the way to the end so that you're not missing out on any of this important information. And if that sounds good to you, just before we jump into it, make sure to leave a like on the video down below, and if you're new to the channel, you might as well subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on. That seriously means a lot to me, and it helps out the channel so much, and it's completely free to do that, and you're going to be getting these new updates every single day here on the channel. But anyway, with all of that out of the way, let's get straight into what this video is about. So right here, we're on the Bitcoin US dollar chart on the 4-hour time frame, and as you can see just here, of course, we are still currently trading above this 21-week moving average, which is still important, but keep in mind that the volume in the short term is dropping off here, so we don't really have the volume to back up this movement. So ideally, if we can get a strong bounce along this moving average right here, coming in at just below 45,000 at around 44.7k, 44.8k, in around that area just there. If we can see some strong bounces along that area and actually head further to the upside, then that will obviously be very bullish. But once again, we really need the volume to pick up here to actually back up any of this movement, because the lower the volume, the easier it is to manipulate the price of Bitcoin. So that's why it is actually quite important to pay attention to the volume here, because essentially when we're on low volume, that is a sign to be skeptical of the current price action. So once again, for as long as we're holding above that moving average just there, once again, the 21-week moving average. But if I go over here and actually change this to the 200-day moving average, as you can see, this is also coming in at roughly around the same price at about 45,000, give or take. And this is another very significant moving average for Bitcoin, historically speaking. And of course, we have found perfect resistance along that level before we actually broke back above that level. And right now, we are currently in the retest phase of this moving average, the 200-day moving average, once again. So for as long as the price can hold above this moving average and use it as support, just like the 21-week moving average, that would actually be really bullish. But the moment we start breaking below that level, then of course, we need to pay attention to some lower price targets coming into play. And that's getting into an important fractal that is playing out right now on the Bitcoin chart. If I zoom into the 2-hour time frame, first of all, if we're looking at the Bitcoin RSI on the 2-hour time frame, as you can see, we are in a slight downtrend in the immediate short term. And we did actually have a quick dip in the middle of this downtrend, a bounce back up, and continuation of the downtrend in the 2-hour RSI once again. And going back around 1.5 weeks ago, right here, as you can see, we did actually see something very similar for Bitcoin in the 2-hour RSI. We did actually have a small little downtrend in the short term, a dip in the middle of that trend to bounce back up, and a continuation of this downtrend as we are currently forming right now. And what's even crazier is if you actually map out the candlesticks that we saw back then, roughly around 1.5 weeks ago, once again, and overlay it to the current price that we're seeing right now, as you can see, it's actually playing out very similar to the price action that we saw, once again, roughly around 1.5 weeks ago. We did have this nice little pump leading into this sideways price action, and then we had a small little dip, a short-term pullback, and then a nice pump to the upside and more sideways price action. And this is where we are right now. Now, of course, when we're talking about Bitcoin fractals, never rely on them 100%, because it's actually unlikely that this price action will play out the exact same. But considering the fact that we have seen very similar price action leading into this fractal just here, it's only logical to assume that we're going to see at least something similar, which could suggest we could be in for a little bit of a short-term cool-off once again. So for those of you wanting a nice entry into Bitcoin, this could be your opportunity over the next few days, especially if this fractal does play out. And now what this fractal does suggest, once again, if we simply follow what we were doing roughly around a week ago, this would actually suggest the price pulling back towards around 42,000, give or take, as our next major level of support. But I'll also be paying attention to this low just here, coming in at around 43,000 US dollars. So in around that price range just there, around 42 to 43,000 is our initial level of support. Anything lower than those levels just there and coming in at around 40,000 US dollars is huge support for Bitcoin in the immediate short term. Now, once again, Bitcoin doesn't have to go that low, but if we do actually make it down towards 42,000 approximately I myself, I will be accumulating at those levels. And especially if that plays out and we can confirm a bounce from those support levels, I will actually have some limit orders set at those levels to potentially enter a long position. I still, by the way, have that conditional long position set at above these highs just here, which hasn't been triggered just yet. But yeah, this is basically just to let you know that it's not impossible for us to see some downside price action. And in this case, it could be likely that we could have a little bit of a short-term cool off. And once again, this is only in the immediate short term, talking about the next few days, that sort of thing. And obviously, this is not any major crash that's about to happen or anything, just a short-term cool off. And by the way, it's not only this fractal that could potentially suggest a short-term cool off for the Bitcoin price here. Taking another look at the Bitcoin long positions over on the Bitfinex exchange. Once again, I was covering this on the channel just yesterday. And by the way, after I covered this on the channel yesterday, some other YouTubers are already starting to talk about this. So you subscribers were the first to know this information. And yeah, essentially over the past 3 weeks, approximately, quite a decent amount of long positions have actually closed or at least taken profits out of these long positions. So right now, over the past 19 days, approximately, this equates to roughly around 11,200 Bitcoin, which at the current Bitcoin price equates to roughly around $500 million worth of Bitcoin that was previously once sitting in long positions, but is now being closed. So all of these long positions that have closed, once again, around $500 million worth over the last 3 weeks, that has actually put a short-term selling pressure on the Bitcoin price. So this has actually suppressed the Bitcoin price recently. If this never actually happened, then it would actually be much more likely that the Bitcoin price would continue to explode to the upside. So the fact that this is trending to the downside in the short term here is once again another reason that could suggest a little bit of a short-term cool off in the Bitcoin price, considering the fact that if this goes to the downside any further, once again, that is more selling pressure for Bitcoin. But keep in mind as well, even though over the last 3 weeks, these long positions have been heading to the downside, during those last 3 weeks, obviously, as most of you would know, the Bitcoin price, on the other hand, has actually been going to the upside while the long positions have been closing. So these are simply just people that have been taking profits on these positions that were accumulating over the past 2 months approximately, especially after that massive capitulation that we saw around 2.5 to 3 months ago in around the middle of May. Once again, we saw a huge spike in long positions right after that capitulation. When you're looking at the Bitcoin short positions here on the same Bitfinex exchange, as you can see just here, a few short positions have been opened over the past couple days. This is on the daily time frame once again, but nothing crazy at all. Nothing like what we were seeing over the past few months just here. So at the time of filming this video, the short positions are relatively neutral. Nothing crazy is happening in the short positions. It's just the long positions are taking a lot of profits at the moment. And on top of all of that information, of course, we have the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index currently showing a strong greed signal. Today's signal has actually increased from yesterday's signal, showing that just overall the market sentiment is looking more bullish. And usually when the majority are really greedy, that's when it's time to have a little bit of a short-term cool off. And the same goes for the other way around. When we are sitting in extreme fear, like what we were just last month, that is when it is time for the Bitcoin price to pump to the upside, because it's when there's a peak in fear, that's when the market is bottoming out. And then when there's a peak in greed, that's when the market is topping out. Of course, we haven't seen, extreme greed. We haven't seen a massive peak in greed, but this is right now getting to levels on this indicator that is suggesting at least a little bit of a cool off. Of course, it's not impossible that the Bitcoin price can keep pumping to the upside. And once again, for as long as we're above these moving averages here, if anything, it is slightly more likely that we are looking more bullish here. It's only if we break below these moving averages, coming in at just below 45,000. So basically, if we start breaking below around 44.5 to 44,000, give or take, in around that area just there, that is when we could play out this short-term call off once again towards around 42,000, give or take. And by the way, regardless of whether Bitcoin is heading to the upside, going sideways, or even heading to the downside, right now I am actually earning money either way. I'm earning passive income just by storing some of my crypto over here on this BlockFi account. By the way, I would not be sharing this if I didn't actually use it myself, as you can see just here, because basically this was crypto that I was going to be holding anyway on a different exchange. So I thought I might as well chuck it on here to earn this extra passive income. As you can see, already this account has actually generated well over $1,000 in interest, and that is money that is no work required, completely passive income. So if you want to check this out for yourself, I do actually have a link to BlockFi down below with the first link in the description. And if you use that link to make an account, you can also get yourself a Bitcoin bonus when you're opening your account if you're using the link down below. The bonus that you receive is relative to how much you deposit within the first 30 days. So if you want to claim that extra bonus when you're making your account, you have to make a deposit within the first 30 days. And yeah, the free Bitcoin bonuses range from $15 up to $250 worth of Bitcoin for free. But once again, this is a key part of my strategy at the moment. And obviously I would not be sharing this if I didn't use it myself. So if you want to check it out for yourself, once again, it will be the first link in the description. But anyway, that's just about everything I have to say for this video. I hope you all enjoyed the video and I hope you got something valuable out of this video. And if you did, make sure to drop a like down below. And if you're new to the channel, you might as well subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on for more videos like this one. And if you're liking these videos every single day here on the channel, make sure to share them around with your friends as well, because right now we are actually in an amazing opportunity in the crypto markets, especially if this fractal plays out. That could potentially give you an amazing buying opportunity for the longer term. So there's never been a better time to actually share these videos around with your friends, because right now we are still below the all-time highs. We are still in a pretty nice opportunity. But anyway, that's really everything I have to say for this video. Once again, I really hope you enjoyed it and I'll see you all in the next video.